Hi everyone, Stepan here. We're gonna be playing game 12. The last game was England Gambit, and I have to say I won pretty easily. You shouldn't play unsound gambits. The England Gambit in particular isn't a good opening. So let's hope we get a normal game this time. Before we get into the game, I would like to thank Noctie for sponsoring the video, and I'm going to show you what Noctie can do for you. If you're like me and you think practicing against the engine is boring because it either crushes you or plays like an idiot, try playing against Noctie. Noctie is a human-like AI that's going to adapt to your strength, is going to play like a human, try to trick you like a human, and challenge you on your own level. The first thing you can do is, of course, assess your rating, and you can play a rating test against Noctie. Yeah, the only move is g4 and then queen f4 mate. Yeah. Good. Yes! 2557! Come on! It's going to tell you your strength, but there are many more features. The first thing is, when you play Noctie, you get instant feedback, and all of your moves will get sort of color-coded. Noctie will immediately tell you if you made a mistake. That way you can ask Noctie to see where you went wrong. You can play games in openings you're trying to learn. So you can import any repertoire you want and play Noctie in that specific opening. Just go to repertoires. I've imported the Hillbilly when I was doing the video on the Hillbilly, but you can obviously create any repertoire. Just paste the PGN, and if you, for example, play the London system, you can play the London system against Noctie. Flashcards are an excellent tool, and I've spoken to Samuel, the owner and inventor of Noctie. He's going to make them even better. Flashcards are basically the mistakes you made in your games. Noctie is going to make you pay attention to them, and in the future they're going to be grouped according to theme, so it's going to be even easier to navigate your mistakes. One of my favorite features, if not my favorite one, and the one I use the most, is themes. So you can play Noctie in any specific position you choose. So if you go to your themes, you can see that I've made quite a few. So let's say you want to play out this position. This is a position from Spassky's game where he triangulated perfectly. If you're trying to practice something, you can create a new team. Just add an FEN or a PGN and play it out against Noctie. That way, if you have an endgame you would like to practice, you don't have to find an actual human to play against, nor will you have to play against a 2800 engine or against a 500 engine human. If you would like to check Noctie out, you can follow the link in the description, and if you would like to get a 64% discount, use the code HANGING Pawns. Thank you very much for this. Thank you, Noctie, for sponsoring the video, and let's get back. Okay, let's start. Finally, I have black. I'm gonna play the Caro-Kann. My opponent is rated 2120. WR6WR. I don't know what that means, but that doesn't matter. Let's see what my opponent plays. Okay, I'm gonna play the Gurgenidze this time. Last time I played the classical and went in for the Karpov, but this is less known. My opponent can play knight f3 or f4. Those are the two most common moves. Taking on d5 allows black to equalize easily, and it's not easy to support d4 with the knight on c3, so taking on d5 is definitely suboptimal. Bishop e3 seems okay, but doesn't seem critical at all. So let's go bishop g7. The main idea when they play knight f3 and stuff like that is to take and go knight f6, and if they take, recapture with the e-pawn to get these two pawns on g6, f6, and then you have the option to go g5 and start an attack. And the b8 knight usually comes out to a6 and then c7. I'm trying to be a bit quieter than usual. Excuse that. My niece is sleeping next door. Queen f3 seems like a very strange move. I mean, my opponent wants to take on d5, that much is clear, but what happens if I play queen b6? Maybe castles queenside? Yeah, definitely castles queenside. So let's say d4, knight e4, knight f6, knight f6, bishop f6. I'm on the d pawn, but it can then be supported. The queen is misplaced. I don't like this queen on f3. Although if I take on e4, there's bishop c4. So takes d4, knight e4, knight f6, knight f6, bishop f6, bishop c4, castles, castles. There may also be bishop h6, but then I can take on d4. And if I start with knight f6, then f4 is annoying. Okay, so I'm taking. Okay, knight f6. I'm expecting knight takes, but we will see, I guess. I would love to have time to play queen a5. But I'm expecting my opponent will castle immediately. If bishop h6, I am planning to play queen a5. Well, couldn't I just win a pawn now? Queen a5, c3 takes, queen a5, bishop d2 takes. That's a free pawn. So I'm gonna take it. I don't see why I wouldn't. Maybe a second pawn even, because I don't see an easy way to defend b2. Rook d1 is definitely not good. You have to play one of them, c3 or bishop d2. And if you go bishop d2, I take, okay. Now queen a2, is there any downside to that? I honestly don't see it, so I'm just gonna take the pawn. I'm not even gonna think about this. I see no reason for this pawn sacrifice, especially since I have queen d5, almost forcing a queen trade. Also b2 is hanging, so... And then c3 is hanging. Okay. Makes sense, defended the pawn. So if I go queen d5, where does my opponent's queen go? I would love to be able to play bishop f5 and maybe bishop c2. I definitely feel like preventing bishop d3 is a good idea. So if I go bishop f5 now, what does my opponent do? Can they go c4? Maybe. c4 could be annoying, but then at least I have queen a5, queen c7. Okay, bishop f5, if g4, then bishop c2, rook d2, queen b1 seems to be winning, so yeah, I'm just gonna go bishop f5. I want to prevent bishop d3. I don't think my opponent's position is playable. Where does the knight go? To h3? To e2? Now I'm also setting up queen e6 check followed by bishop g4. Ooh, that's actually a very strong threat. Especially if knight h3, then I go queen e6 check and I just take on h3 twice. Or play bishop g4. Okay, I mean, my opponent played rook d1, which is bad, but we still have to convert. Remember what happened last time. 2 games ago, I drew a completely winning game against a similarly rated opponent. So no relaxing, no assuming that I'm better. and I appreciate all of your comments saying that I misassess positions because I try to talk during the game and then my evaluations seem misguided. So queen e6, am I not winning? Queen e6, bishop e2, bishop g4, queen e3 is the only move, or maybe queen g3. So queen e6 check. If bishop e3, then bishop g4, queen e6 check. Yeah, okay, I'm playing this. I don't see a good way out of this. Knight e2? Maybe knight e2. But I definitely still play bishop g4. Weird position, not a good position for my opponent. Knight e2, bishop g4, queen g3, preventing castling. h3 has to be played. And then what do I do? Bishop g4, queen g3, bishop g4, queen g3, or queen e3 actually. Okay, bishop g4 seems reasonable. I don't want to allow bishop f5, so let's just play it. I'm up a pawn and I have to develop, so I have to play knight d7, and I don't want to allow bishop f5, so maybe queen e6 wasn't precise, but my queen was kind of offside, so I wanted to use the tempo to bring it back. If queen g3, I may have h5, h4. Oh, queen e3. Okay, I'm not worried about that. I'm not going to develop my opponent's pieces. That much is certain. If my opponent goes h3 or f3, well, I can take on e3 and play bishop e6, I guess. So knight d7 or castles. I'm gonna play castles first. Since the queen trade is on offer, I don't think I could ever be in trouble tactically, so I have been expecting queen g3 instead of this, but maybe I don't play knight d7, maybe I play knight a6, but I'm not really a big fan of that, so I'm gonna go knight d7. The only question is my bishop in trouble? So let's say knight d7, queen e6, bishop e6, c4. No, I don't think so. I think I have time for this. I don't think my bishop's in trouble, because I can always take the knight on e2 if I want to. And now it's time to start pushing my potential passed pawn on the a file. I want to go b5. Okay. So bishop f5. f3 is a weakening move. I'm not sure I want to take on e3. Although taking on e3 may be better, because on bishop f5, queen f5, there may be knight g3. So I'm gonna take. And go bishop e6. I don't think there's c4, because I can just move my knight. I can play knight b6. And then d5 loses a pawn, and c5 allows knight d5 or bishop d5. Also, I would love to get my knight to d5. Also, I may have bishop b3 now. Seems that I'm just a pawn up. Okay, so knight b6 seems forced. Or rook d8. Rook d8, d5 takes, bishop takes g6. Do I have bishop f3? I don't really like knight b6. So I'm thinking rook fd8 to give my knight the f8 square and then reroute my bishop. Because if I go knight b6, there's b3. So rook d8, rook fd8, d5, cd5, cd5, bishop d5, bishop takes g6. Bishop takes f3. Bishop takes f7, check. Messy. It's getting messy. I mean, I'm still up a pawn, so I think this is okay. I don't want to play knight b6, so I'll allow my opponent to play this tactic with bishop takes g6, if they wish to. Also, b2 is hanging in many of those lines, so I don't think I have to worry about much. And if they go knight f4, I think I can now safely play knight f8, yeah. And this is why I gave my knight a square. Now I'm also on the d pawn. With several pieces, if nothing's done. So I think this is great. Also, my bishop now has a retreat square. Can I just take on d4 if my opponent plays something random? Okay, let's assume d5. d5 takes, knight takes, doesn't work. Knight e6, d5 takes, doesn't work. Okay, nothing works. I think I'm fine. Seems pretty good to me. Where's my coffee? Coffee. I'm drinking mocha coffee because I don't have my espresso machine here, unfortunately, but it's okay. Yeah, my opponent, when they played c4, that was very, very committal, and even though they may win the bishop pair, I really don't see a way to defend d4. Whoa. Whoa. Sorry, I'm getting a weird WhatsApp call from my family. All right, so Should I provoke g4 by playing bishop f5? Maybe. I also want to go knight e6. But I don't want to disconnect my rooks. So bishop f5, g4, bishop d7, I guess? Knight e6. Okay, I think provoking g4 is a good idea. I claim the best diagonal, and if my opponent plays d5, then he would have to take with the knight, and I would be able to take on b2. And if nothing's done, okay, then bishop d7. Next move, I really want to go knight e6. And I'm pretty happy that g4 has been played, because now there are so many weaknesses on the second rank that I may even be able to play the move bishop g5 and provoke h4 and, well, trade my dark squared bishop, but that's not something I'm eager to do. I actually prefer knight e6. I would love a knight trade, because the knight is my opponent's only good piece, and my knight on f8 is very passive. Also, I want to play e5, which is now playable. e5 takes, bishop takes, seems like a great idea. Okay, so do I go e5 or do I go knight e6? e5, can the knight move somewhere? e5, let's say knight h3. There's a mosquito on my laptop. e5 takes, bishop takes. Knight e6 takes, bishop takes. I'm on the c4 pawn. Knight e6, knight d3, I can take on d4. No, I prefer knight e6. e5 maybe later. I need to chase this knight away, and okay, good. Now I'm pretty happy. I still have my extra pawn, and this seems good. I think my bishop on f6 is more active than the bishop on e3, simply because it has a target on d4. And again, d5 is risky. I don't think d5 should ever be played, because you're left with an isolated queen's pawn. And my bishop can just go to c8 and after b6 to b7. And I've traded off my opponent's most active piece for my least active piece. All right, giving away e4. That doesn't seem like a good idea. So is it time for a5? I think so. a5, b5 takes, bishop d5. My opponent may wish to play f5 though. Okay, I'm playing a5. My opponent's gonna go f5, I'm gonna go bishop d7. Or even bishop c8. But I'll definitely have either an active rook or a passed a pawn. Whatever my opponent decides to do now. Active rook it is. Now I really don't have any trouble playing bishop c8 on f5. Because my b7 pawn's defended. Both my rooks support d4. Bishop d2 isn't playable because of bishop takes d4 check. Yeah, I feel like this is a big improvement. Also, I may have rook a3, rook e3 with bishop d4 to follow. This isn't a safe structure. There's a ton of space left behind. I don't get this. Am I not just winning a pawn? Oh, nice. There is bishop b6. I didn't see bishop b6. There's bishop b6. So I cannot take this. I didn't see this. And I don't have rook a2 because my opponent takes, and then the bishop defends the rook on d1 and my rook isn't defended. My god. So do I just have to give up the exchange? Well, this is just horrible. If I go rook a3, there's bishop c1. Jesus. I think I'm just losing. Okay, I mean, I have no choice. I cannot lose a bishop, I have to lose an exchange. There's nothing I can do. f5. Just play f5. I hate losing in chess. I just hate losing. And I'm not gonna lose, I'm gonna keep fighting. My opponent outplayed me from a much worse position. I hate that. I'm gonna come back. Come on. It's 2 pawns for the exchange. It's definitely not over. And my bishops are pretty nice. We will keep fighting. This isn't too bad. Well, I don't have much of a choice. I like my pawn. I like my d pawn. That's a dangerous pawn. I'm threatening takes. Ah, no, because rook f3 defends against d3. Definitely not over, but definitely close to losing, I think. Especially because of my opponent's g5 pawn. We are gonna have to study some positions from this game thoroughly. I also wonder what my opponent is planning to do against e6 bishop f8. So I think with correct play, white should be better, but practically I don't think I'm much worse. It's not as if I have a stupid knight on a8, I have 2 bishops, and I have a passed pawn on d4. We're gonna win this game, come on. I'm also ahead on the clock now, which is good. Reasonable. I'm gonna go e6 to prepare bishop f8. To give my king g7 before any back rank problems could happen. So I'm hoping that bishop f3, rook f3, bishop f8 will be enough. Because my opponent would have to go rook c1 or rook c1, and then I go d3. And then I think I shouldn't lose. I don't think without my opponent's c-pawn this could be losing. Okay. So what about d3 now? My opponent wants to take on d5 and play c6. So I wonder if I can go d3. I can also go bishop c6. I like bishop f8 because it also gives me the option to play bishop d6. So I'm gonna go bishop f8. Maybe I should have gone bishop c6, but I like this better. Because my king now has g7. I definitely want to take on c6. I don't think I can not take. Now, I need to keep the option to defend this pawn. And bishop b4 gives me that option. So should I push before my opponent finds time to set up a blockade? So d3, rook d1, d2, rook c2, bishop b4, rook b2. I'm not sure I should be pushing yet, but if I don't push, my opponent's gonna go rook d1 and set up a blockade on d3. So I will push my pawn to a dark square. Because I'll also have bishop d6 as well. If, let's say, rook c2, bishop b4, rook b2, bishop d6, king g3, rook d3. This prevents king e3 and rook takes, because I have bishop takes. On rook c2, I can now go rook d3. I think. Or rook d4. Rook d4, rook d2, rook takes. I'm gonna have to be careful. I think I can get away with this. So rook d4, rook d2, rook f4, king somewhere. Let's say here, e3. And then I play bishop e5. If my opponent attacks the bishop, I have rook f5. So I think this is okay. I just had to make sure I'm not losing my bishop. And with my rook on the f-file, I'll also be defending f7. So I don't think my opponent can win. In fact, I think I'm playing for a win if this trade happens. Because my bishop on e5 is defended by my rook on f5. And my opponent would have to sack the exchange to do something sensible. Oh, my opponent didn't even attack my rook. Okay, so now I may be able to go bishop e7? Can I just go bishop e7 and win the pawn? I think so. If h4, I take it. If rook d4, I take on g5. Or take on g5. And 3 pawns against the exchange. You gotta love that bishop. I think I'm close to winning now. If I win another pawn, I definitely cannot lose. Rook versus bishop is a draw. Rook and bishop versus rook and rook is a draw. f7 is defended. I have no weaknesses. I say that, and I've managed to mess up this position once before. Okay, so takes bishop g5 or just bishop g5. I feel like takes bishop g5 is better. Now it's time to convert this. h5 first, prevent the king infiltration. My bishop can sit on f6. And then I want to go f6, f5, king f6. Okay. Well, first of all, well, maybe my king belongs on e7 even. So I'm gonna go king f8. If my opponent stretches the rook out, takes here, takes. No, king g7. I want my king on f6. No, I'm not accepting a draw. No way. I can never lose. And I'm probably winning. So what if I get my bishop to d4? Is that a good idea? So let's say I play bishop a1. Okay, let's gain some clock time. There's no rook c2 because I just play bishop e5. And I'm seriously considering playing e5. Now I'm making progress. Now I'm gonna go f5 and king f6. I need to chase the king away from this diagonal and play g5. I should have played bishop f8 in the first place. Come on, there are mosquitoes around me. I'm sorry. I don't know what my opponent should do. I don't think there's any way to prevent g5. Okay, so g5 takes. I may even be able to take with the king. And I'm gonna take with the bishop. Well, maybe, wait, maybe I do take with the king. King takes, because then I can go. What do I take with? If king takes and the rook moves, then e5, e4. If bishop takes, then probably rook a6. I'm not a big fan of allowing rook a6. However, if I play king g5, then rook a8 maybe? No, I'm gonna take with the king. I'm gonna take with the king. Because if rook a8, I can play e5, and on rook g8, I have king f6, and on rook h8, I have e4 check. Oh, this is a good move. I didn't see this. But I can chase that rook away. because the king cannot defend the rook. So e5, rook a6, king g5, e5, rook a6, king g5. That seems to work. 3 passed pawns marching forward. I don't think there's any defense against this. I'm gonna sacrifice my h-pawn. Should I sacrifice my h-pawn? I'm not sure anymore. I need to play quickly. Jesus, what did I do? I should have gone bishop e7. Idiot. Oh my god, I should have gone bishop e7. What am I doing? No, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. I had miscalculated. I should have gone bishop e7. Sorry for not talking. I'm trying to focus. King and pawn endgames. So e4 takes, king takes. e4, rook d4, king d4, king f2, king d3, king f3, check. This is fine. This is fine. My opponent cannot take. They still cannot take. It's the same endgame. I need to get here. So my plan is to push the pawn and block with my bishop. I need to do this or this. Okay, I'm obviously gonna have to play bishop c5. So king here followed by bishop c5 to get my king up. How do I make progress? What? Oh, come on! I wasn't paying attention to the repetitions. I hate this. How is it already a threefold repetition? Oh, I want to... Oh my god. What the hell is this? How do I do this in a completely winning game? Ugh. Okay, let's play out some positions and analyze this.